Hari Om. We start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Matasya Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadasi, and the last talk we did the sloka 15. Just chant the sloka 15 and then proceed further. Chidanandamaya Brahma Chidanandamaya Brahma Pratibimba Samanvita Pratibimba Samanvita Tamo Rajas Sattva Guna Tamo Rajas Tattva Guna Prakrutir Dvividha Chasa Prakrutir Dvividha Chasa. So here is trying to differentiate the Ishvara and the Jiva, and the Chidanandamaya Brahma, which is totally infinite, and it is of the nature of Satchit Ananda. And we discussed last time, it is a Swarupam, it is the intrinsic nature of Brahman. Brahman is existence, which is same as the consciousness, which is same as the limitless, which is Anandam. And that Brahma and Maya Sahitam says, the Maya, that is Prakriti is as though an apparent which is needed for creation. So Brahman cannot undergo any creation, but since there is a creation, so how did the creation started? So that's what being explained. So there is an apparent creation. Apparent creation is done by an apparent force. So when any change of state, according to the science also, any change of state requires a driving force. So how do you know there is a driving force? Because without that it cannot change. So if there is a change of state, then there must be some driving force, even though I don't see it. It may be imperceptible, but logically it has to be there. Otherwise it cannot undergo a change. So if I have a stone at some place, and if the stone moved from one place to other place, there is a change of state. So change of state requires a driving force. There must have been some force that moved that stone from one place to place A, place B. And that is essentially how you define force. Force is that which makes a change. And I don't see a force, but effect, from the effect I have to deduce the force. So this is how the even pure science also operates, and therefore it is in the same way there is no creation in principle. Since I see creation, there is a change of state from no creation to a creation, and therefore there must be a force that contributing to the change, and that force is essentially, we call it a Prakriti, that which makes it possible. So Prakarshena Kruti Yogyatva, that which makes possible the creating varieties and varieties of things. So Prakriti, this is a kru dhatu, it is Kruti means done, Prakarshe, the Prakrishta Kruti, that which is an exalted creation, a beautiful creation, and that is possible because of the force that contributed to it. And that force is called Prakriti. And this Prakriti is three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Samo gunas, and that is of two types. He says Dvividha cha sa. Sa Prakriti is Dvividha, is two types. And now he goes into the two details of what are those two aspects of Prakriti, and this is based on essentially a scriptural declaration. We will see now as we go along how the creation starts. Now we are going to take sloka 16. So you should have a book to go along with this. Since it's an intensive class, you need to have a book. Sattva Suddhya Visuddhibhyam Sattva Suddhya Visuddhibhyam Maya Vijje cha te mate Maya Vijje cha te mate Maya Bimbo Vasikrutya Maya Bimbo Vasikrutya Tyam Syat Sarvajna Ishvaraha Tam Syat Sarvajna Ishvaraha. Together, Sattva Suddhya Visuddhibhyam Maya Vijje cha te mate Maya Bimbo Vasikrutya Tam Syat Sarvajna Ishvaraha. Here it says, here talking about there are two. One is the Prakriti Dvividha, that's what we left in the 15th sloka. Now in the 16th sloka, he talks about these three gunas, sattvas, the sattvas, tamas, sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. And in that there are two parts. One is pure sat and another is impure sat. So pure sat, sattva suddhya vishuddhibhyam. So sattva suddhi avishuddhibhyam. So there are two. One is sattva suddhi, suddhi satyam. That means the pure sattvam is one. The other one is the impure one, asuddhibhyam, impure by presence of rajas and tamas also. So rajas and tamas makes the sattva impure. So these are two Prakritis. Prakriti appears to divide as though into two parts. And te of these two, Prakriti, which is same as Maya, we said Mayantu Prakritim Vijjat from the Svetasvara Upanishad. Maya is same as Prakriti and Prakritim Adhishtaya. So by overriding it, because Maya Adhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam. So under my guidance, Adhyaksha, presidentship, so president doesn't do, but he gives, under his power, everything happens, and therefore that's where the buck stops. So Maya avidya cha te mate. So sattva suddhi and asatva suddhi are the asuddhi vishuddhi bhyam. The vishuddhi sattva rajas tamo gunas. So pure sattva, pure sat gunam, and impure sat with the impurity coming from rajas and tamo gunas. And these are called Maya and Avidya cha te mate. So we can give a name for pure Sat as Maya and impure Sat as Avidya. Avidya is ignorance. And this is how the two, is there a Maya and Avidya are same? And here is a clear distinction is being made that pure Sat is called Maya. Impure sat, along impurity coming from rajas and tamo gunas, is essentially avidya, and that's how avidya is different from the maya. Maya bimbo vasikrutya tam syat sarvajna ishvaraha. So Ishvaraha is nothing but Maya Bimbam. Maya Bimbam Vasikrutya. So it's a reflection of the Brahman in the Maya. That's what he said before. Is Ishvara. But this reflection has Maya Bimbam Vasikrutya, controlling the Mayam. He is a controller of the Maya. So Maya, my control is essentially, he says, under my control. So Maya is not, Maya doesn't control him, he controls Maya. Tam Syat and Sarvajna Ishvaraha. He is Sarvajnaha. And Sarvajna means he is all-knower. So the Sarvajna and how do you become Sarvajna? Because he is Sattva. Sattva, so the Guna Pradhanam. Sattva stands for knowledge itself. So since he is Suddha Sattvam, pure Sattvam, and therefore it is complete knowledge, and therefore he is Sarvajna. Sarvajna means all the whatever happens in the past, in the present, and in the future, Bhuta Bhavya Bhavaut Prabhuhu. That's what in the Vishnu Sahasranama is the past, present, and future, and everything is under his control. And that's what essentially Ishvaraha. Maya Bimbo Vasikrutya Tam Syat Sarvagnya Ishvaraha. So essentially the Prakriti has two parts. One is pure Sattvam, another is not pure, but that means it's mixed with Rajas and Tamo Gunas. And in the pure Sattvam, since pure Sattvam denotes the knowledge, and therefore it's a knowledge that involves Sarvajñatvam. That means he knows himself and he knows the whole world also. And that is essentially Tam Syat. Therefore he is Sarvajñaha. Sarvajñaha, Sarvashaktiman is, that's how the Ashtottara Namas or in the Archanas, you use this word for the Ishvara. So that is the first part of the two-part division of the Prakriti. Now he goes into the second. What happens to the second part of and he called it avidya. And avidya is ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of my own self. And that is due to the impure sattva and the rajas and tamas. So there is a little bit of sattva because there is a knowledge of the impurity. Avidya, I mentioned, I have not fully ignorant. I know I am conscious entity and I know I am an existent entity, but I am looking for happiness. Ananda. Ananda is infiniteness that I am longing for. And I want to become infinite by gathering this and this. So I know Sat and Chit, but Sat also, I know that I am existent, but existent as this only. That's part of the avidya, because I don't know completely my true nature. Now we go into the next sloka, that is sloka 17. Avidya vashagrastanyah tadvai chitradanekata sa karana shariram syad prajñam tatrabhimanavan. Together. Avidya vashagastvanyah tadvai chitradanekatha sa karana shariram syat prajñat tatrabhimanavan. So avidya vashagrastaha anyaha. Another one. What is other one? It is jiva, not the Ishvara now we are talking about. Now jiva, what is the difference between a jiva and the Ishvara? Both are reflections only. One is a reflection in the pure Sattva Guna, and that's why is Sarvajñaha. In the other one is reflection of part of Sat, but mostly Rajas and Tamas, and therefore it is avidya. And it's called avidya. We'll see why it's called avidya. And in the case of jiva, avidya vashagastvanyah. See, avidya vasagastuhu. So essentially, he is essentially controlled by or empowered by the avidya. And therefore that means he is completely full with the ignorance. I don't know about myself. That is called the mula vidya. Fundamental ignorance is there. So that is avidya. Vashaga means he is controlled by avidya. How is it controlled? He is going to tell us anyway. Avidya vashagastvanyah anyaha jivaha avidya vashaha tadvaichityad anekada. And because of the varieties of combinations of sattva, rajas, tamo gunas, and depending upon how the ratios keep changing, if the more sattva or less sattva, and more rajas or less rajas, and more tamas and less, so there is not balance properly in each, and there is an imbalance in each one, and each entity will have different ratios, so there can be infinite varieties. So how can there be infinite with three only? There are only three, sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. So Swami used to give A simple example. Coffee is made, at least in a South Indian coffee, good South Indian coffee, there is only coffee powder, there is a water and milk and the sugar, but coffee is already in that process. So it is essentially decoction and milk and sugar. This is essentially 3 ingredients. But each coffee differs from other coffee. So that's why you have varieties and varieties of coffees all over the place, and each claim their coffee is better than the other coffee. Anyway, so there can be varieties, you see, that's what tad vaichitya anekada. So anekada, you say infinite varieties of things can be possible by the combination of sattva, rajas, tamo gunas here. And that is because it's an impure sattva, and therefore it's called avidya. And that forms avidya, this ignorance forms the basis for sa karana shariram syat. That is essentially forms the karana sharira, the causal body, because avidya is the cause for the body. And how is it cause for the body? We'll go into more details as he explains here. But that avidya itself, as though modified in the form of karana sharira, causal body. So it is a body that is cause for further bodies. That's what essentially. And karana shariram syad prajnaha tatra abhimanavan. And tatra abhimanavan, by identification with abhimana means I am this is mine, that abhimanam. So because of that abhimanam, this is jiva becomes a prajnaha. He is in fact a jiva, prajnaha. That's what in the karana sharira level, but because of the identification with the vasanas, karana sharira is nothing but the vasanas, and due to avidya, and because of that, these are mine, I like this, I don't like this. Those are essentially the abhimanam. And we'll go into more detail about what abhimanam here, later at least. So tatra abhimanam, tatra in the karana sharire, so in the causal body, and this is mine, as notion is there, and because of that notion there is called prajnaha. One is called prajnaha. So the deep sleep state where karana sharira alone is there, and that state is in fact the jiva in that state, in the deep sleep state is called prajnaha. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, when you talk about 3 states of consciousness, so he talks in the 7th mantra, he defines essentially in the 7th mantra, Upanishad defines that is a prajna, na anta pragyam, na bahir pragyam, no bhayata pragyam, na prajnana ghanam, na pragyam, na pragyam also. So I am not that, I am not this, I am not a waker, I am not a sleeper, I am not a deep sleeper. So I am not deep sleeper to say na anta pragyam, na bahi pragyam, no bhayata pragyam, na pragyana ghanam also is prajnaha. So prajnaha is what is the state of a jiva in the deep sleep state. So how do we define the prajnaha? Prajna is the 2 explanations here. So it's prakarshena jnaha, prajnaha. Prajnaha, prakarshena jnanam is prajnaha, the one who thinks he knows everything. So is the one, say, everybody claims I know this, I know this, I know this. A chemistry fellow says I know chemistry, whole chemistry. The physics fellow claims. So everybody is claiming that I know this and all that. So the knower of all this means the world of plurality. So it knows only this. And this itself is not really valid because this itself is mithya. So he has only mithya knowledge. And mithya knowledge is ignorance only. Because the absolute knowledge is the truth. And this is only the knowledge that can be negated later, which means that it is a mithya knowledge. And they are called prajna. And another description of prajna is prakarshena ajnaha. So prajna can be split as pra plus ajnaha or pra plus jnaha. Both are possible. Pra plus Jnana. Jnana means he is knowledgeable of all other things, which Shankara calls it only avidya. Therefore, it's not really knowledge. And what is real knowledge? He defines in the Brahma Satyam sloka. It says Brahma Satyam Jaganmitya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha Anena Vedyam Tat Shastram Iti Vedanta Dindimaha. Anena, by which this Brahma Satyam Jaganmitya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. These three, Brahma is real and Jagat is Mithya, and neither real nor unreal, and the Jiva, the individual, nothing but the Brahman. This is the, whatever the knowledge, Anena Vedyam, because of which I can know, that is real Shastram. Anything else is not a Shastram. It is only Avidya, because you will be knowing more about Avidya only. Knowing more about ignorance is not a fact. I want to know about knowledge, not the ignorance, but it's called prajna. Prakarshena ajnanaha. So he does not know, what is that? About himself. He knows everything other than himself. So that's what essentially prajna. And therefore is called prajna in the tatra abhimanavan. In the deep sleep state is called the prajna. So we are talking about two Prakriti is two parts. One is the sattva part and another is the pure sattva, another is impure sattva, and impurity is coming from the mixture of rajas and tamoguna. So in the impurities, is called avidya. So the second part, the sattva with the impurity is called avidya. So pure sattva is called knowledge, and therefore the Ishvara is sarvajnaha. So reflection of the Prakriti with the pure Sat is Ishvara. And Ishvara does not have avidya. So you say all together becomes the sum total of all that is Ishvara. So what is sum total? So one person asked Swami Manji long time ago, and this is a samashti, is called samashti, total, and total involves mixture of these all together. So if everybody is only avidya, and if all bound together, there are more and more avidya only, and Ishvara is the totality, total avidya he should have. How can he be sarvajnaha? It's a very good question. So Swami has gave a beautiful answer. He says, you cannot join. When something joins, what happens? When something joins, only love can join. Husband and wife become one. They have to drop their individual, the rajas tamo gunas, and only join. The pure love only joins them together. And even the hate group, like in America we have a Ku Klux Klan who are whitish supremacy, they hate the blacks and so on, but they love each other because they form a group. For them to form a group, they have to love each other at least. So love brings together, and only hate divides people. Rajas and tamo gunas divide people. I want it and I want it, all that are rajogunas. They fight among themselves. That is part of the rajoguna. So rajoguna divides, whereas the sattva-guna unites. That's why tadvaichityad anekada, varieties and varieties are coming because of the rajas and tamas are getting mixed up, and it splits things into many parts. So Ishvara is the total, because when everything is joining together to one, then means only love become, all other drops out in the process, leaving only sattva guna. That's why Ishvara is pure knowledge, sarvajnaha, and pure sattva only. Other things go away or drop out by cancelling each other essentially. And that's why the avidya, in the case of the jiva, because of rajas and tamas, people are getting the divisions, and therefore tadvaichityad anekata, there were varieties and varieties of jivas are there. You have even in the Bhuloka itself, in this earth itself, you have essentially 85 thousands or 80,000, I don't know, 85,000 of varieties of the species, living species are there. So one can, from mosquito all the way to amoeba to human being, there are the varieties of the jivas can be there, from plant kingdom to animal kingdom and all the way. Now we go to sloka 18. Tamah pradana prakrutehe tad bhoga ishwarajnaya tad bhoga ishwarajnaya tadbhogaya ishwarajnaya viyat pavana tejaha ambubho bhutani jagnire. Together, tamah pradana prakrutehe tadbhogaya ishwarajnaya viyat pavana tejaha ambubho bhutani jagnire. So here we are talking about the tamoguna itself is going to have a varieties and all that. So here what is tamam means? Tamas means inert, and tamah pradhana prakriti, that prakriti which is the predominantly tamas, pradhana means main, only the tamas pradhanam, only the pure tamas guna. Tad bhoga is prakriti, that prakriti, part of the prakriti which is only the tamas pradhana, tad bhogaya ishwarajnaya viyat pavanatejaha ambubho bhutani jagnire. So because of Ishvara Ajnaha, by the dictates of the Ishvara, so Ishvara is Sarvajnaha, he is going to say, now you become, this way you become. He is essentially creating this. So he is the Ajna means here Maya Adhyakshena Adhyaksha. So that is Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. So this Ajnaya, because of under my control, under my dictation, and Ishwarajna, Tad Bhogaya, because of Jiva Bhogaya, for the enjoyment of different jivas, because Karana Sharira state only was described there in the previous sloka, because of the Karana Sharira Prajna. Now when he gets up to other states, he wants to enjoy. So other states involve the world of plurality. How did the world of plurality? This is how he is coming. So Ishvara Ajnaya, because of by the dictates of the Ishvara, by the command of the Ishvara, because he is Sarvajna, so he knows what needs to be created. How should creation? So Ishvara is the creator. That means he has a knowledge of creation, and that's why every religion defines the creation, the God, as Jagat Karta Ishvaraha. He is the one who created the whole universe. And that's what, how did he create? Why did he create? Tad Bhogaya, for the enjoyment of the jivas. Jivas want to enjoy. Why do they want to enjoy? We'll see why they want. Because they want happiness. Because of the ignorance of their own nature, they want to enjoy. That's what it is essentially. Tad Bhogaya Ishwarajnaya Viyat Pavana Tejaha Ambuhu Bhuva Bhutani Jagnire. So this is now the subtle elements are created. Here he is defining here the subtle elements. So Viyat is the space, Pavana the air or Vayu, Tejaha the fire, Ambu water, Bhuva the earth, Bhutani, these 5 elements or Jaggire are essentially manifested by Ishwarajnaya. So this is essentially the Taittiriya Upanishad that starts with Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. That's how it starts with that, but immediately Upanishad switches to Atma. In the next paragraph, next mantra itself says Tasmat va Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha. What about the Brahman? He left the Brahman word, says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma in the Upanishad starts, and then immediately switch without even giving a notice. It says that from that Atma. Says that means Atma is not different from the Brahman. So Atma as a conscious entity. Atma cannot be unconscious entity, and Brahman is a neutral. Atma is not neutral. So Atma is a conscious entity. And from that is the Tasmatma etasma atmana akasha sambhutaha. First came the akasha. From Atma, the space is created. This is how the creation according to Vedanta. Consciousness was there before Atma. From that only creation. If you ask him the absolute science, the objective sciences, they cannot tell when the space comes into picture. Big Bang came, we don't know where the material came and how the space is created. You cannot ask the question, where was that material, where did the Big Bang occur, also they cannot tell, because it occurred everywhere. Everywhere is wherever the observer is. Actually, you can calculate, and if you are doing it, and you can see the galaxies are going and further away, and as a function of time they are going further, and if you go backwards, and it will meet at a point. Where do they point? That's where the Big Bang occurred. It will meet a point where the one who is doing the calculation, because from your point the things are further away and they are further moving, so the extrapolation or interpolation meets at the point of where the one who is doing the interpolation, observer. And observer is some other galaxy somewhere. From him, our galaxies are moving further and further away, and if he extrapolates, it meets at him. So even if you go to the Big Bang theory, where did the Big Bang occur? It occurred everywhere. Everywhere what? Everywhere, wherever there is an observer who is doing the calculation. That's what everywhere, because everywhere is a concept of space, but space was not there. Space and the matter came with the Big Bang only, because it's called singularity. You cannot ask the question, what was there before? What was there before? You cannot ask, because that's why it's called singularity. So means here, what was there before? Here is what he is explaining here, because that is being explained by the Vedanta in a way. This is so Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha. From the subtlest one is Atma, consciousness. Akasha, the space is created. Space came later after the consciousness only. Consciousness has to be there before. Then you will analyze why it is so. So Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashat Vayuhu. From Akasha, Vayu, the next grosser element is, because there is a movement. Space cannot move, because if space has to move where? There has to be space there in order to move. That means space itself has to be infinite. And that infinite space, that is, from that is born out, from that is the Akashat Vayu. Which is subtler, which is cannot be perceived. It's a gaseous state came into picture. From space, first thing is gaseous state. That's what even in the science also, you have hydrogen gas or some gas that which condenses to a stars and so on and so forth. So the gas was the Vayu, the Akasha, Akashat, then Vayuhu. Then Vayoho, the Agnihi. Agni is the energy comes into picture, and the Vayu, the Tejaha means it's fire or energy, and from Tejaha Ambuhu, from the fire water came into picture. And now you are going grosser. Water is liquid. It occupies a particular space, and occupies the container's shape also. It occupies there. So if I take a glass, and it occupies the glass space, taking the shape of the glass to that. If I take a big plate and it occupies in that plate, occupying the plate space. So whatever the container, it occupies that and takes the space of the container. And that's called Ambu, because it is the subtle enough to spread itself to that. So from a highest, subtlest one, Atma, you have Akasha. Akasha means space. From the space to the air, and from the air to the fire, energy, and from the fire to the Ambuhu, the water, and from that you have a condensation to the Bhuva. The earth came from as the 5 elements. So you have a space, and then the air, and then the fire, the energy, and then water, and then the earth. So it's called grosser and grosser. But this is elements are called subtle elements, and which is different from gross elements. We'll come back to gross elements. These are subtle, and these are the subtle elements are the ones that we see in the dream. When you go to a dream state, you can create the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, all those things. And is it real material? You may feel that it's a real material. If the real material, it cannot go, because real material is outside in the waking state. You cannot take it into your brain. So, but still forests are there, and trees are there, and everything that you create in that, even the sun and the moon and everything else also. So all that is subtle only, at a subtle state, and that's what is called the subtle water is also. So when you are thirsty in the dream state, water may be in the waking state. You might have put it on the table for you to drink water if you are thirsty. But when you are thirsty in the dream, that water that is on the table is useless. You want a dream water to quench the dream thirst. If you are sick, you have to go to dream hospital and get a dream medicine only. But as long as you are a dreamer doesn't think dream is a dream, that's a real for him, and that's a real medicine and real curing, and all that real doctor will be there. All that will happen only. So that the subtler is essentially is tad bhoga, the viyat pavana tejaha ambuhu bhuvaha bhutani jagnire. So jagnire it's all manifested under Ishwarajnaya. Which one manifested? Tamo guna. So Tamo guna created 5 subtle elements, and these 5 elements creates other things, we'll see. And then we have a grossification, and then the gross elements created, and from the gross elements you have the other creation also. So Samah Pradhana Prakriti Tad Bhogaya. So all that is what? For enjoyment of different jivas. So because in the previous says Tad Vaichitya Anekada. So varieties and varieties of jivas, and each jiva has its own karana sarira. Its own karana means its own causal state. And what is the causal state? In principle, he is going to tell later, but it is nothing but the vasanas. So individual vasanas are different, and therefore when they want to enjoy, they want to exhaust those particular vasanas. So therefore you need, for bhogayatanam, for the enjoyment of that, you need the world of plurality. And the world of plurality, all that is being created, first five elements are created. They are the subtle elements, and that is essentially Jagnire, or essentially or manifested. Here you have to be careful here. It says that Brahman is infinite. Then we came into the Maya. Maya and Avidya is Prakriti, and the manifestation of the Brahman, a reflection of that Brahman in the Prakriti is what we said Ishvara. And Ishvara, occupying the pure Sat aspect of it, essentially Adhisthaya on top of, holding on it or on top of it, is essentially controlling that, and he manifests in terms of the world. So when the Ishvara is taking a birth in the world, what kind of things? This is Prakruti Adhishta, he overriding on top of it, he takes a different births also. And that's what essentially in the Bhagavad Gita mentions about. And so this creates the different, the subtle elements are being created. Now we go into the further creation starting from the subtle elements. Now we have Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. There are 5 elements, but in a subtle form. These subtle elements is going to create something else for the jivas, and that is essentially the Jnanendriyas are being created by the subtle elements, and that's what is in the 9th sloka is. Satvamshai panchabhistesham Satvamshai panchabhistesham Kramadindriya panchakam Srotatvagakshi rasanam Granakhyam upajayate together. Satvamshai panchabhistesham Kramadindriya panchakam my tongue is not going. Sotatvagakshirasana Granakhyam upajayate. So here Satvamshaihi, in the Sattva Rajo Guna Amshas, in the impure the Prakriti part of it, and in that Sattva Amsha, the Sattva Amsa part, it forms the Jnanendriyas. So Indriya Panchakam, Kramad Indriya Panchakam. So that Dhi Indriya Panchakam, Kamadhindriya Panchakam. So Kamadhi Indriya Panchakam. So Dhi Indriya Panchakam, and Dhi means Buddhi. So it is Jnanam. So Jnana Indriya Panchakam, Jnana Indriyas. So 5 Jnana Indriyas are formed. That means they are Jnana Indriya, because of the Sattva Guna, they able to know things. From the knowledge can happen because of this Jnanendriyas. And Tesham Panchabhihi, from the 5 elements, Sattvamshaihi, from the Sattva Guna part, says Srota, Tvak, Tvagakshi, Tvak, Akshi, and Rasana, and Grana, and Akhyam. So Jnanakyam. So the Srota, the faculty of hearing, not ear. Ear is a golakam, external instrument. That's a tamas. We are talking about Jnanendriya. So the faculty of hearing, that's called Srota. So even though you may have an ear, you may not be able to hear. As is happening slowly as you get older. So Srota, the faculty of hearing. Rasana, Srotra, Tvak. Tvak means the skin, the faculty of the sense of touch. And Akshi is eyes, sense of sight. And Rasana, sense of taste. And Grana, sense of smell. Akhyam, these are nose, Dhi Indriya Panchakam. These are 5 faculties of Jnanendriyas. And Upajayate, we'll go into more details a little bit later. We'll stop here and come back again. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.